as a player. He can be a small ball 5. He can play 4. He rebounds the ball. I think he's going to have a difficult decision. A day ago, he said 60-40 going back to college. I listened to his interview yesterday, and he said, you know what? Right now, I am confused. The feedback, obviously, Bobby, he's getting must be pretty positive.
Yeah, I would say he's probably, as Jonathan said, he's got a first-round grade probably right now, and I think now it's just a comfort level as far as what makes sense. Does it make sense to stay in this draft? They've got to the 28th of May to determine that. So, of course, it's going to be an important 10 days for him to figure that out.
So, Bobby, to clarify, does a first-round grade mean you got to stay?
It doesn't. I think
that's the hard thing,
that
right?
is the hard. It used to be.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
If someone told you you were going to give you a guarantee in the first round, it used to be I'm coming. Now, the ability to go back to Michigan, to go to Michigan for the first time, to play on that in a Big Ten stage, the ability to make the money's probably more at Michigan than as far as the pick in the 20s. It's just that the elements are a lot different now than they used to be.
We talk a lot about the money, and the money is more. But it's not more when you get to that second contract and starting that clock. And how important is that starting of the clock when you potentially look down the road, if you believe in yourself of getting to that second contract, third contract?
It's important. I mean, you get into the league right now, and 3 years from now, you'll be extension eligible to sign a big deal. You wait another year. And listen, there's always, and we talk about this when we're doing rookie extensions closer to October, the ability to get that guaranteed money too. You have 4 years on a first-round contract. The first 2 years are guaranteed. Your release are guaranteed probably $6 million right there. You go back to college. There's no guarantees if you go back to college. If you have an injury, maybe your team isn't as good. There's a lot of variables that can come with that.
Now, he could say, well, you know what? I'm going to go to college and I'm going to play myself into the lottery, but next year's draft is deep, and it would be probably hard for him and his skill set to play his way into the lottery.
Guys,
$6 million, $3 million. Go ahead, Carl.
As you have this conversation, you're talking about, the difference in the decision that you make. And we look at Team Domasan down 18-5. One thing that we've all agreed on is how important point guard play is at the combine. Understand that a significant member of Team Domasan was taken away early in this process when Boogie Flan decided he was not going to participate at the combine and go back to school. So it ties into everything you guys have just been talking about, because I believe he got more money to go back to school than it would have been even if he were drafted, possibly even the first round. So that is a huge miss. And Coach Domasan told me earlier today they are absolutely missing a point guard because they didn't replace with another point guard. They replaced him with the 5
Well,
man.
see, to me, that's the new way that business is being done now. That's a business decision by a young man saying there's more money in college than there is in the NBA for me short term in the feedback that he's gotten. So, Bobby, I want to ask you, how are NBA teams responding to players staying in college longer, players from Europe coming to college basketball, older players here in the draft rather than being able to take a young 18-year-old and mold them the way they want to?
It's an interesting debate because on one hand, and I had coffee with the team when we were talking about that, teams that are picking in the 30s right now, those players that are there are more like guys who are in the 50s to undrafted. And then there's the other part of it that you go back to school and you're getting probably more polished. You're getting a little bit older a year from now or 2 years. I think it's great for college. I think it's great for college basketball as far as maybe, when you're having a 23 or 24-year-old.
26-year-old.
26-year-old.
Seventh-year guy.
But I do think for them from a draft perspective, I think the second round does become a little bit watered down more as far as players going back, and then the players that are left. Or it's basically what we're seeing right now is, in Portsmouth is a great platform. We're seeing a little bit of like the Portsmouth feel right now for some of the players here. So it is an interesting debate. Listen, if you do your work and if you scout, you'll be able to find players that can come in and try to help you. Maybe not next year, but a year from now.
I think the hardest thing is for the players, because like those players that say would have been in the 50s now are in like the mid-30s. They're coming in and, maybe they can get a two-way, maybe they're going to get a 2-year. But here's the question. Are they good enough to stick?
Yeah. Can they get to that second contract?
Can they get And I think that's going to be the really interesting thing. So a guy might say, you know what, hey, I'm going to get a guaranteed 2-year, but that ownership's really looking at that guy as a 50-55 pick.
Well, you know what? Because a year from now, there's going to be 60 new players that are going to come in and trying to take the jobs that these guys are trying to get right now. It goes in cycles, right? We just keep on turning it over, and if you don't make it, then you're in the G League or you're going to Europe, and there's all these other options for you. That's the hardest part as far as the competition. To be one of 450 is extremely high.
The most exclusive club in the world. Like, let me ask you, how do you think decision makers are looking at Boogie, who was in the thing, and I love the kid, and he decides day before, instead of going in the league, like showing, giving people a baseline, missed the end of the season, really wasn't 100%. Do you think people say, hey, I would have loved to see him be competitive enough to come play, even though he's going to go to college?
He did have a couple workouts before the combine, and from what I was told, the feedback was really positive for him. So it's a business decision.
Yeah.
It's a business decision to go back. I would have loved to see him compete. I would have loved. Listen, I think it does hurt the players that are on his team that he was supposed to be on, because, as you said, there's not another guard as far as there, because you're looking at some of these numbers, like a guy like R.J. Louis from St. John's, who has struggled a little bit here. If you had that point guard with him to be able to set him up, that makes him look a lot better.
Well, the same with Elijah Martin. And it's funny, we got a little bit of a national championship game kind of feel here a couple of times. We don't have it on this possession, but we've had Uzan and Martin defending each other. Of course, we saw that in the national championship game this year at the Final Four.
Martin's a guy that ideally needs to play ahead of the defense on advanced passes, getting downhill, defending.
A little Norman Powell-ish.
Yeah, I'd like to. You gave me them. That would be legal.
That's legal.
I'm happy you said that, because we got to keep it in the parameters, because we have very tight line parameters.
The scolding that happened earlier.
We do not want to disappoint the commissioner of the comps.
For the record,
he's not even paying attention to us.
I took a break from my Caesar wrap.
Oh, you got
to let
food?
you guys know.
Why are you still down there?
He said this is a good game. He said this is a good game.
We have a chair empty right between us right now.
Oh, I know. You know what? He's not. He's got a good game. He's walking around and talking to all the gurus. We have the main guru up here, though, Bobby Marks, with us.
I'm living the life down here. You guys are fun, but it's more fun.
He's worried about the next game he's calling.
That's what you were just talking about with Elijah Martin, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Great job cutting, moving without the ball, gave it up, got on the right side of his defensive player, and able to operate. He's got great athleticism.
Well, the amazing thing, too, especially his body of work at Florida Atlantic, and you saw that Florida team lose in the first round a year ago. Now he goes in there and basically brings that experience level of a guy that got to a Final Four.
Well, and the fun part, too, is like Walter Clayton Jr., who's not participating, sitting right here to our left, coming to make sure he's watching his guy, Elijah Martin.
Sean, and you bring up Elijah Martin. So earlier today, you'd already left the gym. You get the early workout in. I'm in the gym. John L. Davis comes into the gym. Dusty May's in the gym. You've got 2 of the 3 guys here that are part of that FAU Final Four 2 seasons ago. And now you talk about Elijah Martin, who comes, to the combine as a national champion from Florida, but John L. Davis doesn't get the invite. And so you think about the choices that guys are making and the decisions that they make and the schools that they choose when they go into the portal. And it looks like it was a great decision for Martin. Maybe the decision for John L. Davis, not as good. We won't use the word great in this scenario.
Corey, speaking of the gym, Sean, who has just been wearing the gym out today, was an observer. Yeah,
I'm always scouting, always have head on a swivel. Want to make sure that we see elite level athleticism. Yesterday we talked about it a little bit with our guy, Jonathan Gavoni. And today, there's not a lot of high-level athletes that have that kind of flexibility while working out. I mean, that is so elite, Gavoni.
If you're going to do that, don't show the top of the head, though, Jonathan. The top of the head's not a good look.
I am always paying attention. I'm always got my head on a swivel. I walk back in. We're on our conference call. We just end our conference call, and Gavoni's literally got that leg. He is like the IT band is getting a very nice stretch. and he's sending out texts and firing meetings.
That's why I told him yesterday he was showing off, Sean. He was found in that same spot, same treadmill, I'm sure.
Sean
I told you, you're
Farnham's
showing off.
sinister.
This does not happen for the average human being.
I'm trying to do that up here. I mean,
What is the go-to there? I can't bring my knee.
Sean, I can get about, sitting in a chair, I can get about here.
But Gavaldi, I mean, that is elite level athleticism. Jonathan, how have you developed that technique?
A lot of yoga. Got to stay limber. I mean, that's the only way to age gracefully.
He's not a 7-footer to get his leg that high on the treadmill.
How does that help you with your preparation here at the Combine to deliver the goods the way that you have?
I spent a lot of time sitting at a desk watching film, and my body would completely fall apart if I didn't try to do some kind of maintenance every day.
Basically, the man's body is a temple.
Yeah.
And by the way, his wife allegedly really appreciated all the kind words
see if she liked that one.
we were communicating about him.
This
when
might
he was
be
so
a bridge
locked
too
into
far,
his work.
guys. There's got to be something better for us to be talking about during an NBA Combine.
No, I love the fact that, by the way, while we're doing this, all he's doing
game and the fiery attitude that he brings. And, he's a very talented player. I'm excited to see what he does this upcoming season for Duke.
Drake, to have tested the way that you did here this week, incredible numbers in the no-step vertical leap, max vertical leap, among the more athletic players, if not the most, through this process. What's your reaction to the way you tested?
With as far as the vertical leap, I had no idea I was going to get 43. I definitely wanted to get 40. But just having my older brother and older sister here with me in Chicago, that kind of amped me up a little bit and got my adrenaline rushing. So I think that's what led to that 43.
What's it like having your family? Because this isn't a solo thing here.
No.
I mean, all the games, all the practices, all the missed dinners, all the missed vacations, and stuff like that you were playing basketball and your family was at supporting you. What's this like going through this process with them?
Yeah, it's great. I'm blessed to have a great group of people in my circle. And my parents, they didn't make the trip. So that's why my older brother and older sister are here. They're actually in St. Lucia right now. So, like you said, it's just nice to experience this with them. And so I'm not just out here by myself.
I mean, you've answered everything we've wanted to ask. I mean, I think the big thing for me is, and you kind of answered it. If you're not making shots, what keeps you in the game, right? Your defensive identity keeps you in the game. But what are some of the things that you really want to get better at, more consistent at, let's say?
Yeah, definitely. Like I mentioned with him, definitely the ball handling. I'd say the shooting as well. I've heard the perception from my coaches that it might be fake, the 38% that I shot in college, because it's not high volume, it's low volume. So just still getting consistent with that. I'm happy that I'm working out in LA at Proactive with Don McClain, who's been in the business for a long time, like 20 plus years.
Oh, I know. We traded for him.
Yeah.
In 96.
Yeah, so
Don McClain can shoot it now.
We have a good collection of guys over there with CAA, and it's just every day, just stacked days coming into work.
It's awesome.
Well, he said the door is closed on the decision. He's staying in the NBA draft, and the door's wide open now for a great future. Drake Powell, thanks so much for the time here today, and good luck to you in this process.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
North Carolina star Drake Powell. Sean and I are still trying to get past the 43-inch vertical leap, Sean.
Sean's arms eyes went like, wow.
I mean, we usually do the college slam dunk three-point competition at the Final Four every single year, and guys usually 37, 38. Man got 43.
He said
at the Combine.
He said, 43.
And by the way, Don McClain, one of my favorite stories. Jim Herrick, my freshman year at UCLA, was coaching us, and we kind of lollygagged over to the huddle, and he said, one of the guys he looked at says, "You're not good enough to lollygag to my huddle guys. Don McClain, he can lollygag because he'll give me 30 in a hurry down in Arizona."
Jimmy.
And he wasn't lying. Don McClain, all-time leading scorer from Pac-12 history, and just absolutely a bucket. And went to the NBA and won the Most Improved award when he was with the Wizards.
Yeah,
back then the Bullets.
We got him on. My brother had him.
We had him on the tail. It was a trade with Philadelphia.
Yeah.
We had him on the tail end, and his knees just started to kind of let go a little bit there. But he was a heck of a player in college.
And what many people don't know is just how much he does now in the draft process for all of these guys. Like, he works out guys and really does an outstanding job getting them ready, not only for this, but more importantly for what that journey is going to be when they get to that next level.
You know what he does? He makes these guys uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And when you go through the individual draft, when these guys leave here, the players, and they start doing their individual workouts in June, it is uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable process because it's 45 minutes on the court. Some of these players are by themselves. It's basically going on the treadmill and hitting like 8.0. And it's repetition. There's no breaks. It's different than going through a college practice.
Yeah, and sometimes they bring guys in to work against them that are basically hired hands to challenge them physically, right?
Well, I'll give you a quick story. I mean, when we were doing this back in the 90s, there was a process where you were allowed to have your own players work out against draft prospects. You could have NBA players work out against these guys. So Ed O'Bannon, who played at UCLA, worked out against Kobe in '96. Khalid Reeves, who was at Arizona, worked out against Kobe. That went away. That is no longer allowed. I love this because talk about a baseline. If there's anything that gives you a baseline.
I tell you one thing, you couldn't make any comparisons though there. I mean, stay away from the comparisons there. We had a kid at Long Beach State, Joaquin Hawkins, who was just actually ended up playing in the league, played for the Lakers, and he played his way in because he was one of those like workout dummies that he played so hard in those workouts just as a guy to play against that he opened up some eyes. Yep. Now, is that still practice where you bring some guys in that are just really tough and physical?
You cast a wide net as far as guys to bring in. I mean, most teams are bringing in 65, 70 players. Even if you're not picking, if you have a pick in the 20s, you're still bringing in guys who might go undrafted just because it gives you something for summer league at least.
And speaking of that, will some agents say, you know what, he's not working out, he'll come in, but he's not working out against them?
Well, yeah, you're going to get. There's two things that happens. You're going to get a lot of players that will only want to come in and work out against themselves, and then what happens is when you have a lot of players that work for or are part of the same agency, they don't want you to work out against another player there.
You know, we just had Drake Powell on the set. I want to bring in Jonathan Givony. Jonathan, some of us were a little bit surprised yesterday when Drake made the decision to stay in. Where does he fit in your estimation right now in the draft?
We have him projected as an early second-round pick. Now, there's a couple of guys in front of him that could pull their name out of the draft and move him up. I've been told that he's been looking really good in the private workouts that people have attended in Southern California. So I think they're banking on him, doing this tour of NBA team facilities and impressing people with his interviews and just his measurables and, his defense and his shooting. And so, I mean, it's not a big stretch to go from 32 in my mock draft to 22 on draft night. So a lot can happen still between now and June 25th.
He's got such a young body.
Yep. 19 years old.
He's 19 years old. I mean, obviously he's got NBA athleticism. It's to me, he's one of the more intriguing ones, more shocking ones to me. Just for the fact that to stay in that league, how are you going to handle the G League? You could be in the G League the whole season. And, the G League is also a league of grown men. And, look, he's a terrific prospect, or I'd call suspect. Obviously a world-class athlete, but, man, that's a gutsy decision.
Seth, I think the thing for him is he grew up a North Carolina fan. Both of his parents went to North Carolina. Yeah. So the idea of him entering the portal after the season that he had, I think I listened in on some of the interview. It sounded like he was talking about how he was played out of position and he was sacrificed and all that. So, sometimes these guys are just ready for the next step in their career. Maybe, college is not for him, and he's okay being in the G League.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the hardest thing in terms of where we are also in college athletics. And it sounds sad, in a lot of ways, with NIL and the transfer portal, the whole education side for the masses has been put on the back burner. But that's a bigger story.
And a discussion for another time. Bryce Williams with a bounce-back day today. Didn't have a field goal yesterday.
To be here. So now that they're here, a lot of them have been able to exhale and have performed extremely well.
Well, even a player like Tamar Bates, who was he was in Portsmouth, and then he was at the Combine, G League Combine, and now he was able to, it's kind of like we said, it's like a survive and advance. You play well in Portsmouth, you get invited to the G League Combine. You play well there, you get invited to this. And he has 8 points so far today. He's an interesting player because it did not work out well for him at Indiana.
No.
Then he goes to Missouri, and he has good success there. And now it's kind of like that third. It's like he's trying to redefine his career as far as trying to get into the league.
You know, it sounds like a silly way, but those guys that have played in this environment already, whether it's Portsmouth, where he played well, is like almost playing in an NCAA in a conference tournament where, you don't get the bye. And you get a couple of games underneath you. You get your feel for the game, your adrenaline, and now all of a sudden it's just going out and playing again. And
first four.
Yeah, the first four. And these guys are playing to their strengths. I think that's the most important thing. Nebhart, distributing the basketball. Olbrich, rebounding the ball, running the floor, being physical. Tamar Bates, scoring and attacking, being athletic. I mean, they're showing exactly what they do well, and they're doing it at a high level.
Bobby, how about Hansen Young? There aren't as many international players here this week. It's mostly college guys, but this is a 20-year-old, 7'2". There are a lot of things to like about his makeup. Where does he fit?
There's a lot of unknown about him just based on him playing in China the last 2 years. I think he's helped himself. Right now he's got 7 points, 9 points, excuse me, 6 rebounds here. We just saw him make a nice assist here. I think for him,
great pass.
Yeah, terrific pass, right on cue. That was one of the big things I asked him. I said, who do you kind of watch? And it was Jokic, Şengün, guys, the ability to kind of a big that can try to stretch the floor, the ability to pass. It's going to be interesting. He's a second. He could be in that second round. The ability to go back overseas and play there. I think he's a nice developmental piece here. It will take time, though. The adjustment of being in the States, I think, is a little bit of an adjustment. But as we said, his grasp of the English language, he's only been here 2 weeks, and he's already kind of starting to figure things out.
And there's Bates.
Yeah. Good drive and dish, but this pass got me excited. Just as a big man to be able to step out on the outside and then wrap this around with a little English on it and allow that finish. Big time play.
And the ifs are changing ends of the floor, getting out and guarding ball screens. How do you deal with his limited ability to change directions?
Some of the things that Rudy Gobert has been working on, right? I mean, a couple of years, 3 years ago when he was in Utah, it was, can you keep Rudy Gobert on the court in some of these playoff games? And that's something when you watched Hansen in the first game, it's the ability to come out on defenders.
Sean, the player you had an eye on here, and you talked a lot about yesterday, Ryan Nembhard. Those numbers continue to be very, very good.
Yeah, just consistent. As Coach was alluding to, what's the one thing that you have? What's the one trait that makes an NBA team say, you know what? That player can go. That can help us. And it's the ability to distribute the basketball, make your teammates better, put them in a situation where they can be successful. He just picked up his 5th assist. He's been active defensively, which I think is going to be a big question mark with him. But his level to pass the ball and set the table is elite. And
Look, Mark Few said it. Without him, their offense would have been a mess this year. And Mark Few is one of the best offensive coaches we have in all of college basketball. And year in and year out, they're amongst the leaders in efficiency. And he's had a lot of great guards. But Ryan Nembhard's ability to orchestrate, read an offense consistently in a two-man game, whether it was with Graham Ike or Braden Huff, consistently up in Spokane. Oh my goodness.
What's supposed to happen at
The joy that is so back with us right now. Corey Alexander has rejoined us on the set. This is an amazing moment for all of us.
You're welcome.
I mean, just the tremendous nature of what you bring. Your aura, as they would say, your aura and your vibes are needed.
And as soon as I sit down, Greenberg gets up. He leaves. He walks
leaves,
away.
Walks around with a hot mic, starts talking.
Exactly.
That's great.
We can't hear him.
Yeah. I've been impressed, though, overall with how these teams have competed here and how hard they are playing.
I also think about how many bad starts we've seen, but yet the teams come back and make it a game.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a key to what we've got an 8-point game in this one when you consider that, you know, this was a slaughter early. And we were talking about bad scheduling, et cetera, guarantee games and the whole nine, and just like that, Team Domasan has gotten back into this.
This is Mackenzie Mbako at the free throw line. He went for 14 and 8 yesterday. Really had a very solid first half.
You know, the concern for Mackenzie Mbako is consistency. And when you talk to NBA scouts, you talk to execs around, they talk about how well he played, and you got an opportunity to see him on the video as one of the G League call-ups to the NBA Combine. And they were questioning whether or not he could put together another 2 strong performances. Had a great start to yesterday's game. And as Casey just mentioned, a good game here as well today. So that consistency has been showing up for Mackenzie Mbako here in Chicago.
Like, where do those questions come from, Bobby? Why question whether a guy who performed well in college performed well at the G League Combine? Where does a question like that come from?
Well, listen, I think, you know, some of it's unfair. I mean, some of it is, I think what he was able to do at Indiana, too, I think the question is, can that translate to that next level? And I think you saw him at the G League Combine, and there's flashes that it does. Now, can he take it? Now, we're here.
With the three-point shot, I think we saw that a little bit more throughout the course of the year. He's got to get better with the ball in his hands. When I'm making a comp to him, I like Victor Oladipo.
And I second that comp, and I would think that Corey Alexander would absolutely approve the official comp of Victor Oladipo.
I absolutely do. It is a valid comp, and I have praised you all, other than this whole Ray Allen conversation, I've praised you all for your elite level work in your comps throughout these 2 days, and Victor Oladipo is absolutely on point.
And when you look at VJ, one of the things I think you go back to, too, is when he played on the Bohemian national team, you had pros looking to get him the ball. You had pros looking to find him. DeAndre Ayton, Buddy Hield, Eric Gordon were all part of that team. And VJ Edgecombe was a guy that started, that's where the buzz really started to take off.
And you know why that's the case? Because, and no disrespect to Buddy Hield or DeAndre Ayton, B.J. Edgecombe is the toughest dude on that team.
He's a dog.
He is an absolute dog. And, again, you have to respect that when you're talking about an 18, 19-year-old who's willing to go out there and do whatever is necessary, guard whoever he has to be successful, to win. And that's B.J. Edgecombe's personality. That's his ability.
Talk about Tamar Bates playing to his strengths, getting downhill. You talk about Edgecombe. He has the opportunity to be an elite defender, a physical defender. And I thought he was a much better, his shot mechanics, and Corey, you've probably been around him more than I am, but just watching him on synergy and pulling play after play, his shot mechanics improved dramatically as the season went along.
Yeah, I mean, B.J. Edgecombe, and again, when you look at his skill, he's going to get so much better. And this is a young man that once Jeremy Roach was injured, and he was able to move over a slot really into that shooting guard spot beside Rob Wright at the point guard position, his production skyrocketed.
Yeah, it did.
You know, and again, and Scott Drew, who is one of the best that we have in coaching, wanted to make sure he got all those guys opportunities. But oftentimes, there's too much going on the floor. But B.J. Edgecombe, without Jeremy Roach on the floor, was at a completely different player, and he felt so much more comfortable. And speaking of Tamar Bates feeling comfortable, going down the lane, jumping off the right foot.
That's over 7-1, by the way. That's over 7-1.
Yeah. Yeah, and it means more. You know what I mean? When you dunk on a big guy, it just means so much more than it does you dunk on someone your own size. You know, someone your own size shouldn't jump with you.
You're talking to two guys that can't relate to that.
Who are the two? Sean's caught bodies before. Sean's caught bodies before. Who are the two you're talking about? You talking about you and Bobby or you and KC?
I know you dunked on a 7-footer.
I dunked on a 6'10".
It's close enough.
In college?
No, not in college. In high school.
Was it good?
It was good, Coach.
Even more valid.
It was good.
Even more valid when it happens in high school.
Being that we're talking about guys that aren't here, not playing, talking about Edgecombe, Colin Murray-Burroughs. All right?
Yeah.
Like, kind of different. And I like Bobby. I mean, he's kind of almost a throwback to the small ball, 4 or 5, whatever, 6'6". Reminds me of Anthony Mason, just for two cents.
Legal.
But like.
Legal.
A guy like that, is there a space for him? Maybe a poor man's Draymond Green?
Oh, I definitely think so. I definitely think so as far as the ability to if you see what Golden State was able to do, kind of go small ball here. I think it's interesting. We saw that mock draft. It's a guard wing heavy top 10 there, where really Cooper, you saw Cooper flag there certainly, and then we see a lot of guards, whether it be VJ, certainly Dylan Harper, Trey Johnson's another name.
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah Fears, who we've talked about. It is going to be interesting because when you get towards the back end of that lottery, then you start thinking, is it more fit? Is it more best available? Or how much separation is there from different guys? It is who has 2 picks. San Antonio's that one team at 14. It's an interesting process. We had Max on here from Stanford, and it's like I'm thinking when we're interviewing him.
Oh my God!
It's like
incredible.
He would be perfect in San Antonio. I think it's a little rich at 14, but he would be perfect with San Antonio. The ability to play, the ability to be with Victor. Yep. You have that relationship. It's like Dyson Daniels is in Atlanta, and there's a relationship with Tyrese Proctor, because certainly 2 players from Australia. The ability the inner dynamics of the locker room is so important as far as you drafting a player, how that player fits in.
And Bobby, we talked about that yesterday when I asked you what was San Antonio's second-round pick, and I'm thinking Maxime Reynaud at that point. Now, Reynaud could very well have played himself into that first round, but to have someone alongside Victor that he's comfortable with, that he's familiar with, and in the same age range.
What's the value you put on that?
Yeah, in the same age range, to give him someone that he can play chess with.
Yes.
To make Victor Wembanyama comfortable in his own spot in San Antonio. I mean, it's worth that in itself, especially for a guy that can play.
Yeah, and can impact the game.